most of the time I'm not going to. Okay, so but you can find all class material, any handout, any information except the pop-up quiz from the Canvas website. So please, any new student, so which means you are a new student, you should be familiar with the Canvas. Canvas is new student. This is the first semester. Wow, we have many. So Canvas is our online course management tool, but it can be also used for the regular class. So I cannot remember the URL, but you should be able to access this one from the bridgeport.edu, right? So, or what is it? myub.com, myub. So through the myub, you are able to find the website. Then you are automatically registered for this class as well as other classes you register on Canvas, so you can find all the information. So please, it's your responsibility because I cannot remind everything, the classroom, so some of the class activity, so you should pay attention to the due date schedule. I will explain. So use the Canvas. Okay. So this is our syllabus, but you don't have to use this one. This is just for the syllabus only, so one time use today. But some of the students check the schedule here, but I'm not going to update this one frequently. Okay, so just in case if there is any change in the schedule, please check the Canvas or classroom announcement. Okay, so my name is here. So you can call me first name, last name, whatever, okay? But last name will be much easier. So I'm professor in the computer science department. I'm mostly teaching data and database related subject, including big data, NoSQL database, data mining, multimedia database, and so on. But since the last few years, 2-3 years ago, I started to teach operating system as well. So this is the advanced database design course, but we are not going to cover only the designing part, also database algorithm also. So this is a graduate level class, but we have the few undergraduate students. Any undergraduate student? So, but unfortunately, this is closely listed to the graduate class, but I'm not going to change the class activity for the undergraduate student. Instead, you need to catch up. I know this is not easy for undergraduate students, but will be awarded. And also for finite grade, I will consider separately from the graduate student. But the class activity will be the same. So don't be distracted. My point is much lower than graduate student, but I will consider separately. But the class activity, any assignment will be the same as the graduate student. So it's a little bit tough. I know, I understand. But it's not required, but since you select this subject, which means you have the enthusiasm to take this subject. Based on my experience, overall performance of the undergraduate student, this advanced database design is better than, really better than the graduate student at the end of the semester. So please work hard and get the help of the GA or me if you have any questions. So my office is South Shore 107. Anyone who ever been to the South Shore? That's far away. So it's the first floor of the North and South Shore. So I'm the only professor in the School of Engineering in the South Shore. But the problem is locked always. So if you, except during the office hour, mostly Tuesday. So if you need to combine my office, please inform me through the, not email, even though there is an email, the best way to reach me is using Canvas message. Because I have too many emails every day, so sometimes it can be ignored. So, but Canvas is classified by the subject, so I can easily recognize. I'm trying my best to respond as soon as possible. Okay. if you do not get my response, which means I'm thinking, or I'm contacting, or I'm doing something, okay? But be patient, but mostly I respond as quickly for the Canvas. Please use the Canvas method regarding to this subject. Okay, then my office is mostly the Tuesday afternoon will be available until the 8:30 because I have class also, evening class, but by appointment. So please email me or I send a Canvas message if you have if you need an appointment. Also, I have the GA Shule.
I'm here.
Yeah, Shule is here. Okay. Say hello.
Hello. Hello, everybody. I'll be your GA for this semester.
She will be in charge of the exercise lab and grading of your project, grading of your homework. Pretty much those are her major work. So if you need the help of such a thing, please contact her. She's much better than me. Okay. And it will be the changes, right?
Yes,
so I will update her office hour, and her office is next to my office. Or if you need the different office, let me know. I will update this one. Textbook. So I'm going to use this textbook throughout the semester. Every class that I'm teaching, I really focus on the importance of the textbook. This is the same thing. I know probably this will be higher than the $200 in Amazon. Maybe, yeah. So most of the computer science textbooks are very expensive, but not more expensive than your tuition. So it's worthwhile. I strongly suggest to keep at least the textbook of core courses. So most of you guys are computer science, right? The MSCS, there are 5 core courses. This advanced database, operating system. Also, I'm teaching in the morning. And what else? Algorithm, OP, and DCC. Right? These are the 5 core courses, which means it's the most important part of your life because you are going to major computer science and also would like to get a job using the degree. So then I'm still using some of the old textbook. So not much changes sometimes, like the compiler and the computer architecture. So please use. And also my class will be based on the textbook. Also, another thing is the PowerPoint. Do not rely on PowerPoint file too much. PowerPoint is my supplementary. It's additional material, okay, to help my teaching. So I know I did. Many of the professors nowadays use the PowerPoint. Then they explain everything, and this is looks like a primary material. No, I don't agree. So PowerPoint is to have the lecture, okay? So because of that, so I did for 10 years, I used a lot the PowerPoint. Then most of the students pay attention to the PowerPoint, not my lecture. They just read, then that's it, then sleep. And also for the midterm exam, final exam, then print out the handout, print out, then read only that one. Never ever textbook. So exam, any class activity will be based on the textbook. Then even my lecture, I'm not going to use a lot the PowerPoint. Mostly starting with the discussion or the lecture, which means you need to be ready. So you need to read some of the material before you come here, and even after the class. I don't believe the 1 hour, 15 minutes is enough to understand one chapter. No, I don't think so. So it's your job after class to study and review and preview next the subject and so on. So that's what I'm going to do. I started to not to use the PowerPoint the last semester, but I cannot avoid it. Throw away PPT file because sometimes lack of time or the wrap up, I cannot remember all the topic or some. sometimes missing the important stuff. So usually summarize wrapping or some diagram or the database stuff. So at the time I will use the PPT file. So for your exam and everything, so the main part is the textbook. I cannot say you can copy or illegally download. I cannot say, okay? So because that's illegal. And there's an international edition, I know, but international edition actually is illegal. I heard from by the way, textbook is the fundamental of the database system authored by the Dr. El-Masari, who is my PhD advisor. So it is one of the most popular textbook. Benefit, it covers the most of the recent topic, including NoSQL database, big data, and so on. Even though I'm not covering the NoSQL big data part, but from time to time I will explain. But he tried to update the textbook very quickly. But because of that, sometimes there are a lot of typo. I know, but don't be serious too much such a typo. So, but this is one of the good textbook to understand overview of the database. So I'm going to use this one also. Then I can suggest some of the reference book as long as they are dealing with mostly the relational database model. There are a lot of good textbooks. So some of the students ask, can I use this textbook? Yes, you can use the base, but problem is notation. Some of the notation are different. So I cannot cover the difference of the notation, but you can easily catch up. Okay? So if you already have the textbook, so you can use the other textbook, but some of the class activity will be based on the specific diagram or chapter. At the time that you should find any corresponding the subject or the figure and so on. Okay? But unfortunately, I cannot share the online material. That's the copyright issue. So, but that's all I can say. Okay? So it's your responsibility to get the material of the textbook. Okay? For the grading policy and the grading distribution, do not pay attention too much. So it's 10 years back, I made this one. It will be change it based on our class activity and overall performance at the end of the semester. Okay? For example, grading policy, if I apply this grading policy very strictly, half of the students will fail. So definitely based on sometimes the exam is very tough. At the time, I definitely consider the curve. Okay, so do not pay attention too much to this grading policy. So overall schedule. So we need to check that we do not have any spring break like the bio, but we have the one next week, Monday, we do not have a class. The campus will be closed because of Labor Day. So Labor Day is Monday, so we do not have class, but we will have the Wednesday class. And also, however, in fourth semester we have the Thanksgiving. Actually, Thanksgiving holiday starting from the Thursday, but I'm not going to have the class on Wednesday. Many of the students, many of the faculty, and including me, leave Wednesday for long holiday. So we do not have class Wednesday, just one day before the Thanksgiving holiday. Then that's and final exam are the midterm. When is the midterm this time? We will have the midterm October 23rd. That's different from the campus schedule. UB schedule maybe the 1 or 2 weeks before, but we will have the midterm exam the October 23rd classroom. Then the final exam, one of the date here, so registrar office will announce the final exam schedule based on our class schedule, which I didn't check yet. As soon as I know the final exam date, so I will announce. But so this is the really problem. So some of the students would like to leave or take the flight before the final exam. They cannot be excused in this class. So there's I cannot give the midterm exam, the final exam, makeup exam for final because of this one. Any absent or any missing the class activity or whatever, the only excuse is a medical problem. Even that should be proved by the medical doctor. Your medical doctor should sign. Do not bring the UB clinic sign. Do not bring the international, the medical. Sometimes I can see from China, Korea, or India, the medical doctor sign. I don't know how you went there to get the prescription. Also, prescription will not be accepted. Just that's a school policy, not my policy. Okay, so that's the. Do not say the other professor excuse this one. That's their responsibility. So in my class, the no excuse except the medical issue. Okay, and I will explain a little bit more about the attendance check and so on. As you can see from the, it's too big. Let me. Okay. So first, you can see some of the exercise lab. So during the exercise lab, so I used the computer lab, one of the computer lab in the School of Engineering and so on. We have only the 24 computer in our lab. So we have already the 50 students, which is not possible. So in this semester, I'm going to use your laptop. So please bring your laptop to this room, classroom, or whenever we have the exercise lab. So for the exercise lab, this semester will be the first semester to change the database. Anyway, so title of this class is the Advanced Database Design, which means we are going to use one of the databases among the bunch of databases. Then among them, we will use a relational database. Don't worry about what is a relational database or relation. We will learn throughout the semester. So among the relational database, we use the Oracle database before for your practice. It's provided by the UOB. But this semester, I'm going to use the MySQL database, which will be installed by yourself. So you are going to install the MySQL database by yourself. It's your database throughout the semester for your practice, including exercise lab as well as the project. I'm going to explain a little bit about the project. So for this, any class activity in this class will be based on the MySQL database that you are going to create. Then how can I create the database, MySQL database? I do not know. So first, the exercise lab next week, the Wednesday. This semester, I'm going to use the Google Cloud, the computing. Google Cloud Platform, actually, GCP. Anyone who ever used GCP? That's good, which means so it's the same condition for everyone. Anyone who ever used the other cloud? Azure and the AWS. So those are the popular ones before. Nowadays, the Google also provide the cloud service. So UB recently got the grant from the Google. So each student can have the $50, $50, the coupon. So it's pretty much enough for if you are taking both operating system and database, operating system and database are separate. So you will get the two, okay? But if you are taking only this class, you will get the one coupon that is available throughout the semester. So then, after you enable the coupon, you are able to create first a computer virtual machine, which will be based on one of the Linux system. It can be Debian or the CentOS. I will introduce the details later. On top of that, you will, you don't have to create this time there are different ways. You don't have to create the virtual machine. You can directly create MySQL database, automatically create the operating system. So you don't have to worry about too much operating system. Directly create the MySQL. It's very simple. So it's not like the installation of the Oracle. Oracle is very, very painful and takes some time. But MySQL is much simpler. So, but functionality that we are going to use throughout the semester, so 99% the same. Okay. So So don't worry about I need Oracle. No, it's both of them are based on the same relational database model we will learn. So you will create the MySQL database in the cloud computing. Then your exercise lab connect that MySQL, your MySQL. So each student will have their own instance, own database. If you messed up, throw away, just reinstall. So it's all yours. But it was not before. So there was a problem. If there is a problem on the UB Oracle database, then nobody can access. So this time you can do whatever you want. Then your project is also based on the Google Cloud. So this semester, from this semester, I am going to fully utilize the cloud service for any course that I'm going to teach. I'm teaching in this semester. The operating system and database, as well as the data mining also. So if most of the students do not have the experience on the GCP, so it's a good time to learn what it is. So I believe the next few decades, the 10, 20 years, all computing environment will be based on the cloud-based. So you don't have to take the computing class right now, but it's a good idea to learn what is a really cloud. I'm not going to teach detail, but you do better. And also, I'm going to provide as much as possible the material to understand, practice the Google Cloud. So in the first, the exercise lab, we will activate the coupon for the Google Cloud computing platform. Then we will practice a very simple 1 or 2 the sample task, but the other you can do your homework, and you are able to understand the problem. So Google Cloud is based on the Linux system. They provide Windows, the virtual machine cloud service, but it's not based on the GUI, graphical user interface. It's command line interface. Almost of that. If you are familiar with the command line interface, which means shell programming. Anyone who ever used the shell programming? Shell? What kind of shell? Bash shell. Bash shell. Most of them are bash shell. So it was I used the C shell, Corn shell, the bunch of other just shell, but this time we are going to use mostly the bash shell, no matter which operating system we use. So if you are not familiar with that, this is also a good time to be familiar with. Okay? After graduation, if you get a job, nowadays many of the companies use the shell environment, the Unix or Linux system, and the VI editor. So if you are not familiar with the VI editor, it's also a good time to learn. So please, intentionally, I use the Google Cloud platform because nowadays I realize that most of the students are familiar with the Windows-based programming, Windows-based environment, like the C# programming and the Visual Studio. That's the only one part of the computing environment. It looks like the money. Do you know where is it from? It's my old university, so to donate the money. How can I turn off the sound? Okay. So, I'm sorry. Where am I? Cloud platform. Please be familiar with. So after you graduate, when you get a job, now still the Windows-based environment, the programming are just one example. So this is a good time to learn another popular environment and the interface. So for the database, even your project, I will explain later. That should be based on the Google Cloud platform, GCP. Okay. So then exercise lab will be based on the GCP. But the order of that sometimes a little bit changes, but I will mention one day before. And also, you can see the homework this homework is already scheduled. They are scheduled on Canvas, and then, for example, the first homework will be September 13th. So I'm not going to remind in the class. Okay. Instead, it's your responsibility to check the due date of submission of the homework. Where's the first homework? Homework. The chapter 3 is I think the September 15th. You can submit. Okay. So then there might be 5 or 6 the homework. So then plus in this semester I'm going to offer the pop-up quiz. Pop-up quiz is using Kahoot. Anyone who ever used the Kahoot? In my previous class, operating system probably. So it's a very simple question. It's not complicated. So even you don't have to study. Like whether Professor Lee is handsome, something like that. What is the operating system? What is the database? And so on. It's a very simple question. So this quiz will not be scheduled. I don't know when I'm going to offer the pop-up quiz. So if you are lucky, you will take all of them. If you are not lucky, like I direct overslept today, but unfortunately Professor Lee offered pop-up quiz, that's it. I'm not going to have any makeup exam for the quiz. Okay? That's just a pop-up. That's it. Even I'm not going to provide the question because it's just a simple question. You will see the first one. Okay, later. How many times? Maybe 4, 5, or 6 times a semester. So not every chapter. So sometimes, mostly I need more time. I'm in a hurry, so I do not have a time to. But in case there is a pop-up quiz, so at the time I'm going to use the Kahoot website. I will explain later. Also, that pop-up quiz will be considered as the attendance. Because you realize that it takes 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I don't waste class time to call all your name. Instead, after taking the pop-up quiz, anyone who takes the quiz will get the attendance. So if you miss the quiz, you miss the quiz and also you miss the attendance. So please realize the importance of the pop-up quiz. But one more time, I'm not going to offer the makeup exam for the pop-up. If you miss it, that's it. Okay? It's not a huge portion of the final grade, but it will be the small portion. Okay. Then another thing is a project. This semester I'm going to offer the 1 project only. So usually I offer the 2 projects, but this semester 1 project based on the GCP, the Google Cloud Platform. Let me explain a little bit more. Where's the project? So, the main objective of this project is that you are going to implement database system, end-to-end, everything. Database to the user interface. So you will implement database system by following the 5 steps. So 5 steps include, first, we should have something problem. What kind of a database we are going to build. So this semester, it's the same topic. Sometimes I'm going to ask the students select a topic, but sometimes I just assign. This semester is a UB room or UB event, the management side. You can name differently, but the main idea is using your system, database system. A user can reserve the room or create the event, okay? And admin can manage it. So details of them, it's straightforward. Anyone can. Nowadays, even the Facebook, social media data provides such an event management system. So it looks like it's very similar. So user should be able to create or the change it or the move such an event, or you can specify something room but it should be done at the UB, the territory. So UB. So the UB, for example, I have the something club event, so I should be able to create and reserve the room, something like that. Then another user is admin to manage this kind of thing. So it's a problem itself is very straightforward. And also you can make your own functionality and so on. So for this one, for this UB event system, somebody may argue, I can do this one without database. Yes, you can do that. Without database, you can create that. There exists a template for the event management, whatever. However, in this class, your event management system must use database. All data should be at the database, especially MySQL database. So, to do that, it looks like the so this is the cloud. Next week I will explain a little bit more about the GCP. So in your GCP you will create the MySQL database instance. This is yours. Okay? Then first you will create the application server, which means web server. Web server here connect the database, like for example room. Which room is available. Then interface is the web browser. It's a web application server. So room list is shown. It's very simple. At that time, program language, I know you are familiar with the C#.NET or the ASP.NET. So this time the limit by the PHP, yes, PHP is possible. And Go language is a Google language, and what else? Ruby. Any language is supported by the Google Cloud Platform. Okay, so these are available program languages. Because I realized that the other classes in our department also offer the project using IIS and C#. Sometimes I know you are smart, so recycle. Then slightly change the database code part. So I'm not going to allow this time. I know this is the first time to use the GCP, so that's the reason. So one of the languages supported by the Google Cloud Platform. Then this can be done in the locally, but that doesn't mean it's published. So final goal is this web server also